Hello and welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. I'm your host, Bubbs. Today is Tuesday, October 15th. Hopefully everybody's having a good day so far today. We are a little under 24 hours removed from the New York Jets and Buffalo Bills Monday night matchup last night, where the Jets fell 23-20 to fall to 2-4 on the season, while the Buffalo Bills, the division rival, have a comfortable lead in the AFC East now at 4-2, coming away from yesterday's game. And today was another one of those moments as a Jet fan where there is truly never a dull moment. You have what happened last night. You get up this morning, you're frustrated, you're upset, and then this morning the New York Jets go out and trade for Davante Adams. It felt like this move was coming for a very long time. Where there's smoke, there's fire. And Davante Adams is out at one Jets drive, and he is now a New York Jet. So we will break down all angles of this trade. We will also break down the Hassan Reddick situation, which is just continues to be a messy situation with a whole lot of twists and turns, but could be ending soon as the New York Jets have given him permission to seek a trade. And of course, as we always do on these Monday or Tuesday pods, in this case, day after episodes, we'll give you some more takeaways from the game last night, some stats, some numbers, and of course, look ahead as well to the Steelers coming up here on Sunday. Short week, quick turnaround. As always, though, before we begin, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with our friends over at BetUS, America's favorite online sportsbook. The MLB playoffs are in full swing. The NFL season is in full swing. You've got college football. You've got the NHL starting. You've got the NBA right around the corner. There is so much sports going on. October is an awesome month, especially in New York sports right now. It is a great time to be a New York sports fan with everything going on. And if you want to get in on the betting action, use my link in the description of this video to get a 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Also, our friends over at SeatGeek, if you want to head out to a Yankee postseason game, want to head out to New York Mets Game 3 NLCS and haven't used SeatGeek before, check it out. Link in the description to download the SeatGeek mobile app. And this isn't just baseball. You want to hit up a Jet game. You want to hit up a baseball game. You want to hit up a basketball, hockey, a play, a concert, a show, you name it. If you can buy a ticket for an event, SeatGeek has it. Plus, my viewers, if you haven't used SeatGeek before and it's your first purchase, use my promo code BUBSONSPORTS for $20 off your purchase and get yourself out to some awesome events. And, of course, also our friends over at Huga House. If you want one of the awesome Aaron Rodgers 20 to season hats that comes in black or green, or any of the other awesome Huga House hat selections, use my promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase store-wide over at Huga House. So, without further ado, let's not waste any more time. This is episode 406 of the In the Trenches with Gang Green podcast. As always, I thank you for joining me. Those tuning in on YouTube, appreciate you all. Make sure to please like and subscribe, and appreciate you all as well tuning in on across all the different audio podcast platforms. So another one of these days, another one of these Tuesdays, I guess it's Tuesdays for some reason with this Jets team that the action happens. Unfortunately, the action hasn't really happened on Sundays or Mondays. That's been a lot of the losing, but the Tuesdays has been a very busy day. You go last week, you fire Robert Saleh, you promote Jeff Ulbrich as interim on Tuesday morning. And then later in the week, you promote Todd Downing as offensive play caller, switch play calling duties. And then you fast forward to today, similar time, around 10 Eastern in the morning, and Davante Adams gets traded to the New York Jets. So something about Tuesdays this year with this New York Jets front office where they make moves and make changes with this team, both from a coaching perspective and now acquiring Davante Adams. Look, I will say this. I am still heated. I'm still frustrated. I'm beat from last night's loss. I am. I think a lot of Jets fans at this point where we are with just the way that things are going, you're just beat, you're frustrated, you're angry. You don't even have the energy to just get upset right now. It's kind of just a depressing feeling that we're in this situation again at 2-4. And that's why I wanted to start with kind of that statement there, because look, I get the Jets just traded for Davante Adams. And Maybe some of you thought I would come onto this podcast today and say, "Oh, we're back. This is great. Davante Adams, Jets are they're gonna win 4 or 5 straight games. This is awesome. They're gonna, go on a run here." And I just can't buy myself into it. I can't. Now, look, I'm going to say this. And look, maybe if I'm being too negative for you, I'm sorry. But this is just the way I'm feeling right now at 2-4. I need to see this. This team needs to start just putting wins out there on the field before I'm going to sit here every single week. And now we have Davante Adams. So now we're going to win games. Last week it was Robert Saleh. Now we're going to win games. Like, this team right now is not playing well. There's so many problems. And that's where I want to start. Does Davante Adams make this team better? Does he bring in more talent? Yes, 100%. There's no other way to put it. The New York Jets today, right? And we're going to break this down piece by piece. The New York Jets today acquiring Davante Adams. As bad as it's been, we can't downplay what Davante Adams brings to the table. Davante Adams walks into this receiving room as the most talented receiver, the most decorated receiver by a long shot. And he's, of course, got the connection with Aaron Rodgers from Green Bay all those years. We all know what they were able to do together, all that stuff. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Davante Adams doesn't make the Jets, doesn't add significant talent to this New York Jets offense, because that's just false. If you don't think that the New York Jets, from a talent perspective, added somebody that makes them better talent-wise today, then you just don't know football. So that fact is true. But where I'm at as a Jets fan right now is I'm not going to sit here and tell you, and that's not me just saying stuff just to go against the grain. It's 100% my gut feeling. I just don't think that Davante Adams, and prove me wrong, I would love to be wrong. I would love to be sitting here next week talking about a 31-10 blowout against the Pittsburgh Steelers where Davante Adams has 2 touchdowns, 115 receiving yards, and the Jets look like a completely different team than we saw last night and we've seen the last 3 weeks. I would love to be wrong. But the way I look at this Jets team and what we saw last night and what we have seen for year after year after year, and specifically this season, because I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole of past years. I'm talking about this year, all in. Aaron Rodgers finally got the quarterback, or at least you thought you finally had the quarterback. And here we are still sitting at 2-4. The problems with this team run so much deeper than just acquiring Davante Adams and calling it a day and everything's going to be okay. Talent-wise, the Jets got better today, no doubt. That's not an opinion. That's a fact. Davante Adams is a beast. He might not be the same player he once was, but he still brings a lot to the table. But this notion that Davante Adams, I just can't wrap my head around that he's going to come in here and just change everything. And now the Jets are going to win 5 straight and they're going to be a different, and now all of a sudden they're going to run the table and do all these. I can't wrap my head around that. I just can't. To me, this is a last-ditch effort. You fired the coach. You changed the offensive play caller. You still embarrassed yourself on Monday night. You had a ton of missed opportunities. You still saw the same trash penalties, dominated in the trenches, the same garbage we've seen week in and week out. So I just can't sit here right now and tell you, Davante Adams, this team's now going to start to win just because of Davante Adams, because the problems run a lot deeper. Does Davante make them better? Yes. But there are so many other problems. Can Davante Adams pass rush? No. Can Davante Adams block on the offensive line? No. Can Davante Adams kick field goals? No. Can Davante Adams coach? No. Davante Adams is great, but he's not this superhuman individual that can do everything and multitask and fix every single problem that's with this team, because there are a lot of problems. It's a sinking ship that's taking in water at a very high rate right now, and there's nobody that's stopping it, and there's no signs of stopping it. That's where I stand today. And believe me, it sucks. This feeling sucks. Like, we just traded for an all-pro receiver. We just traded for an elite guy that when he's healthy and he's playing at his best, especially Rodgers, an elite receiver. But what I'm so sick of talking myself into, and us as Jets fans, like, we should be so tired of talking ourselves into, oh, Davante Adams, this and that, oh, this happened, oh, we fired this coach, and And it's just the same results every weekend. And until they start to change and until the results actually start to change and they actually start to win, all this off the field moves ain't going to mean anything. Because guess what? When the New York Jets brought in Tyron Smith, we were all fired up. When they brought in Mike Williams, we were all fired up. All these acquisitions, I'm just tired of getting excited over acquisitions and thinking it's going to change everything. Because it's proven here this year that it clearly doesn't. And again, I hope I'm wrong, but Davante Adams can only do so much. Similar to Aaron Rodgers. We thought Aaron Rodgers would be able to come in here and mask over all the problems that this team had from a coaching perspective. Specifically from a coaching perspective. Because going into this year, I think we all expected the talent on this team to play a lot better than it has. But from a coaching perspective, we knew there was concerns. And here we are 6 weeks in, and we've got an interim head coach and a new offensive play caller, which I wanted. We all wanted. But that right there is an example of Rodgers not overcoming everything. And I'm just not going to sit here and tell you that Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers are all of a sudden going to be able to now overcome everything and the penalties, and that's just going to wipe away, and, everything will be great. I need to see it. I need to see it. You're 2-4. They're in a massive hole. They got a lot of work to do. Just because they traded Davante Adams right now does not mean, they're going to automatically win 5 straight and they're going to make the playoffs now. And no, this team's got so many issues that run deeper than just wide receiver, run deeper than just adding Davante Adams. Now, the trade details are as follows. Jets get Davante, of course. That's the only thing they receive. Raiders receive a conditional 3rd-round pick. And I'm not saying I disagree with the trade, by the way. Like, this was a trade that the Jets had to make. Like, if they say they're all in, they had to make this trade. Like, Joe Douglas could not. I'm not worried about the draft pick they gave up either because, look, Joe Douglas, if this thing spirals out of control, won't be here to draft with that pick. So from a Joe Douglas perspective, you've got to understand his mindset, which is we're 2-4. We're in a free fall right now. As I said it last night on the recap pod, and boy, I was wrong. I sat there on the recap show last night and said, Davante Adams to the Jets is not happening. There's no chance. And sure enough, here he was. Davante Adams took a red eye to Florham Park last night. So he was at the facility last night while I was saying those things. So, boy, I was wrong. How 10 to 12 hours can change the way your opinion looks. But either way, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, they gave up a 3rd-round pick. From a Douglas perspective, his perspective is if you're going all in and he's available, you couldn't let anybody else get him. You had to go out and get him. It could be a conditional 2nd, but if this season blows up either way, Douglas isn't going to be here next year to draft that, to make that pick anyway. So if he held on to the pick, he probably wouldn't be here anyway. And if this thing still blows up in their face, he's not going to be here anyway next year if this thing all blows up. So you have to give up to get in this league. And it could be a 2nd again based on the performance. I haven't looked. There hasn't been a specific report on what the conditions are on that pick, but they just say performance-based. So certain yards, I don't know. I don't know if playoff games are in there. I'm sure that'll come out here over the next coming days. Look, the numbers with him and Rodgers are impressive, right? 108 games, Adams with Rodgers, 108 games together, 622 receptions, 7,590 yards, 12.2 yards per reception, and 69 touchdowns. So there's obviously a lot of success there. Look, I'm not going to sit here and rattle off all these advanced analytics. We know what Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams are able to do together in Green Bay. You hope they can do some of it here in New York. By the way, the contract, restructuring the contract, so he's lessening the 2024 cap hit, and there's also likely to be adjustments to 2025 and 2026. So those numbers are still coming in at the time of this recording, but seems like there's going to be a contract restructure there for Davante. And yeah, look, I'll say it again. It helps, but there's deeper problems than just Davante Adams coming in here and solving it all. And to me, this is also kind of a latch-ditch effort. You're 2-4. It also, too, part of it feels too late. Like, this feels too late. You're 2-4. If there was a time to do this, it would have been last week going into Buffalo, as opposed to now where you're 2-4, 2 games back in the division. Buffalo's now 1-0 against you. All that stuff, all that garbage that falls out from last night. But, I mean, I'm going to sit, you could sit here and run through the litany of issues with this team, which we'll do here in a little bit when we get to some more takeaways from last night. Unfortunately, Davante Adams isn't quite, I don't know, a dual threat. He's not like a Shohei of football. Not Travis Hunter, where he's playing kicker. Hunter doesn't play kicker, but you get the point. He's not playing both sides of the ball. Davante could do a lot, no doubt, but he can't fix everything. So I need to see it. By the way, Mike Williams, it also feels like with this trade and last night that Mike Williams play was brutal. The interception that Rodgers threw, Mike Williams didn't run the wrong route. Rodgers basically exposes him on his post-game press conference saying that he didn't run the right route, which I still don't understand how we are in week 6. Like all you could do is just laugh through the pain. You were in week 6, and we're still having issues week in and week out with wrong routes, not on the same page with the receivers. Like, what do these guys do all week? Heck, like, why even have training camp if they're just going to come out looking like this is their first time ever playing with these guys? I mean, every week now, I feel like there's at least 2-3 incidents every single game where either Rodgers threw in the wrong spot, there's a miscommunication, there's a wrong route, whatever it was. For some reason, the receivers, Rodgers just can't get on the same page. I mean, finally, last night, him and Garrett were on the same page. Him and Mike Williams are off now. And my point with Mike Williams, it seems like he's going to be getting dealt because there's not going to be enough play time for him. And I also think last night probably also adds fuel to potentially trading him because he ran the wrong route. He hasn't been what the Jets expected. He got banged up. It just hasn't worked out. And now you bring in Davante Adams, who's going to take away a significant amount of playing time from him. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Mike Williams dealt here in the coming weeks before that deadline. And I will also say this about Davante. Olberg today kind of avoided to put an official stamp on if he will play or not. I think he'll probably play against Pittsburgh. He probably will. I'd be surprised if he doesn't. It kind of feels like he has to because you're not going to bring in Davante and then wait till New England. And then if you're 2-5, it's getting laid out early. Like, he needs to play right away. So that's that. That's the Davante Adams stuff. He's a Jet. And that's what's so disappointing is we've talked about Davante Adams so much over the last year. Right? Going into last year, we all knew that he probably could have been a Jet. Rodgers goes down. That, of course, doesn't happen. You went into the offseason, you're thinking, okay, maybe he can be a Jet. He's finally a Jet. And for me, every Jets fan's different. And look, there's a lot of Jets fans I know that are fired up and believing again. For me, I'm just not in that space right now. I'm so frustrated with this team. I'm so fed up. There's so many problems. To me, yeah, Davante Adams helps, but he doesn't fix everything. And it still would not surprise me at all if this team goes out there on Sunday night and embarrasses themselves and falls to 2-5, even with Davante Adams. Because that's how many issues they have. So that's how I view it. But that's what's so disappointing is you win last night, you're 3-3, and we're having a Davante Adams party right now where we're first in the division. You're 3-3. You get Davante Adams. Olberg's 1-0 as an interim. Offense looks good with Downing, and here we are now. We're 2-4, and there's all these problems, all these penalties, undisciplined football, same old Jets, and now we're trading for Davante Adams, and you don't have any emotions. Like, I have no emotions about this trade. It's like, whatever. They need to prove it. There's so many other issues they got to fix. All right, let's move on to Reddick. So the Hassan Reddick situation's been kind of crazy. Over these last couple days, it's kind of heated up. So the CAA, his former agency, actually parted ways with Reddick. So in a way, Reddick got dropped by his agency, which is kind of embarrassing. Look, this whole Hassan Reddick situation's been so weird. It continues to get weird. It continues to get stranger and stranger as each day goes by. I mean, he comes in here, he holds out, he's blowing all this money. I mean, it's crazy to think that Robert Saleh never even coaches a game with him. Now, Reddick might never even play a game as a Jet. Just the whole situation was weird dating back to his press conference, the whole handshake agreement. Why'd the Jets make them move in the first place? Like, Just going all the way back to March, April, this never made any real sense. The whole situation. But the last couple days, it's kind of started to heat up again, ramp up a little bit. The CAA parted ways with Reddick, his former agency. A couple days later, he then hired Drew Rosenhaus and Ryan Matha as his new agents. So Drew Rosenhaus sent out a statement the day he was hired as Reddick's agent, saying they were going to attend the Bills game and try and talk through a solution with the Jets to get Reddick back. And this was the quote: "We look forward to working with the Jets to get this resolved as soon as possible." Rosenhaus also went on to say Hassan would like to be a New York Jet for years to come, and our goal is to make that happen. And then you get a statement today, or not a statement, but a report today from Diana Rossini of The Athletic that states that the Jets have given Reddick and his camp permission to seek trade. And over the last 12 hours, Rosenhaus and his camp and his agency have been contacting teams. So we went from agency parting ways with Reddick, Reddick hiring Drew Rosenhaus and Ryan Matha, attending the Bills game, seeming like there might have been a solution coming, to now Tuesday morning, he's seeking a trade. Jets gave him permission. It looks like this thing's going to be hammered out in terms of a trade here, potentially at any moment. So, look, I said it when the season started. I didn't have great hope that Hassan Reddick will ever show up. I thought when this whole holdout happened that he would eventually show up, but once it crept into the season, it got to the point where once he started losing game checks and he clearly doesn't care, he clearly is okay with that for some odd reason because he's losing so much money, you knew that this thing would be over. You knew it right away, this thing would be over. And now we're in a situation where he's seeking a trade. And let's just be honest, there's no repairing this. There's no repairing this. Hassan Reddick walking into that facility tomorrow, let's say with a new deal, that would be so weird. Like, dude, you're out 6 weeks. Week 7, you get a new deal done. Now you're just going to show, like, it's over. There's no, like, he's going to get dealt. It's over. This whole saga is going to end with Reddick never playing a down for the Jets. Reddick never playing a snap in practice for the Jets. Forget about games. We never even saw him wear a Jet helmet for a second. We never saw. And here we are. And this falls on Joe Douglas. I don't care if there was a handshake agreement. I'm still so fed up at what has happened to this defensive line. Reddick not being there is a big part of it. But getting rid of all these pieces, putting all your eggs in the Hassan Reddick basket, and it blowing up in your face like this is a fireable offense. There's no other way to put it. No other way to put it. So this is brutal. This is brutal. Continues to get just dumber and dumber. But here we are. Reddick, permission to seek a trade. So, he requests a trade. Jets obviously weren't trade him. Now they're kind of giving permission to seek a trade, and it seems like the Jets might be more on that boat now of trading him. And and that's what I said last night in the recap show. I didn't want to hear, Reddick coming back, Davante Adams, and we're back. No, Reddick's not coming back. Yeah, they got Davante Adams, but Reddick is not coming back. Maybe I'll be wrong, but it's just not. This never happens. This has never happened. You can't name me an example of this happening ever. And here we are. It's like it's happening with the Jets. Only the Jets. This stuff happens. All right. Some more takeaways from last night. So looking at the numbers, of course, rewatched the filming of all 22. A lot of missed opportunities. The red zone was brutal, right? You go 1 of 4 in the red zone. That was a disaster. You get the Braylon Allen touchdown. You get the Tyron Smith hold, who was terrible last night. He has not been lived up to any of the expectations put on him when we brought him in the offseason. All of that stuff. Jets lose 23-20. You get the Greg Zuerlein 2 double doinks. It was pathetic. You know, the offense played a lot better than the points show you in terms of, like, you know, they had 393 total yards of offense. They had more total yards than the Bills. And they also actually had more time of possession by the Bills. Not by much, by about 52 seconds, I believe. They had more, 30 minutes and 26 seconds to 29 minutes and 34 seconds. So they had about 52 seconds more with the football, which isn't much, but they still won the time of possession battle. Rodgers, for the most part, played well, but they still found a way to lose. And it was because it's the little stuff. It's the red zone stuff. It's the penalties. It's the offensive line not playing well enough. It's the little things like that kill you in games. But in terms of Todd Downing last night, something that we thought we'd saw with Downing would be more motion, and we saw it last night. The Jets offense last night ran 73% of plays consisted of motion. That's 7th highest in the NFL in week 6. Prior to that, in weeks 1 through 5, they only ran motion on 46.5% of their plays, which was 30th in the NFL. So definitely a lot more pre-snap motion, which clearly resulted in a little bit more success from a 20-20 perspective. And that's what I continue to say. The Jets 20-20 from 20-20, their offense was great last night. They were good, right? They were moving the ball, doing good things. And then when they got inside the red zone, you had penalties, you had the missed field goal, you couldn't convert, you went 1 of 4, a disaster. And the sad part is the New York Jets this season, 52.94% in the red zone, which is 18th in the NFL. Not good enough, but better than what they were last year. The Jets were the worst red zone offense last year at 32.43% conversion rate in the red zone. But when you look at the New York Jets' last 3 games, they're right down there in the bottom of the NFL in the red zone. Yeah, on the season, they are 18th at 52.94%, which is still below average, still not good enough for a team that supposedly has a lot of talent on offense, but it really seems like we overrate the talent on this team, fans included. But the Jets over the last 3 games, a major problem has been the red zone percentage, the red zone scoring rate. The Jets in the red zone over the last 3 games are converting. This is touchdowns only at a 33.3% rate. That's 29th in the NFL. That's beyond pathetic. And a big reason why the New York Jets are where they are right now at 2-4. They were 2-1 playing good football. The last 3 weeks, you could think of many moments in each of the last 3 games where they got to the red zone and weren't able to punch it in. Last night, you get to the red zone 4 times, you only score once. One of the situations, Braylon Allen lines up as a fullback, like the play call, like the creativity, giving the ball to your 6'1", 240-pounder in that situation inside the 5, holding penalty, gets called back, Jets kick the field goal, and of course they miss because why make the field goal? 2 doinks in one night from Greg Zuerlein. Are you kidding me? Go back to that Denver game. You were on the 1. You were at the goal line. They couldn't punch it in. Ran twice with Brees, went nowhere, brought in Braylon Allen, threw it, tried to get it to Solomon Thomas on the flat, letting him run the play, trying to confuse the defense, went nowhere. Jets tried to go for it on 4th down, had a false start, had to kick a field goal. I mean, so many dysfunctional problems in the red zone. And it's the same stuff as last year, where you can't convert in the red zone. 20s to 20, fine. You get inside the 20, and they're not converting. The field shrinks, and it's like there's nothing left on the play sheet. It's all just luck after that point. I mean, we haven't even seen the corner of the end zone one-on-one jump ball to Mike Williams. We haven't even seen that yet. We probably will never see it because he'll probably get traded. Does Davante Adams make a difference in the red zone? Maybe. But other than that play to Garrett Wilson last night, it was the same old stuff. And even that play was Rodgers rolling out, pocket collapsing, having to make kind of a last-ditch effort type play. That even wasn't a simple play where you're scheming guys open. That took a beautiful throw by Rodgers and an even better catch. And how many times do we see teams score wide open in the end zone? Wide open. Tight ends. Where's Conklin in the red zone? Nowhere to be found. So that to me, I thought had to be brought up is the red zone stuff. The defensive line's been terrible. And again, the Jets offense last night was not the biggest problem. The biggest problem last night was Greg Zuerlein, the 2 missed field goals, and the defense. That was the biggest problem. And the penalties. Look, I know the refs were a disaster last night. I totally get it. They were. It's actually kind of sad how you can have these primetime games and just have them get taken over by the refs. We've been saying this for years. Nothing changes with this team. Nothing changes with these refs, I should say. Although nothing changes with the Jets either. You get the point. But nothing changes with these refs. And last night was another example. But still, even with some of their, and there was bad calls on both sides, by the way. I'm not going to sit here and be one of these Jets fans that's like, oh, we got all the bad calls. No, there was bad calls on both. That roughing the passer on Rodgers was so BS. That was not a roughing the passer. And you know that. If the Jets called that, if that was called on the Jets, I would have been out of my mind. Now, the Jets never get roughing the passers. That's, I guess, the perks of having a Hall of Fame quarterback. But either way, you go down and you go out there and you have 11 penalties. Inexcusable. And there are also penalties in big spots. Big spots, big parts of the game. Last drive, Tippmann hold. It's pathetic. 50 penalties this season the Jets have. Tied for second in the NFL for 462 yards. They have the most penalty yards in football. Nothing is getting better from a penalty perspective. It is so painful to watch your team crumble because they can't stay disciplined. So painful. And also, 8.3 penalties per game this year is what they're averaging for 77 yards. That is not going to get you anywhere the rest of this season if you continue to average 8 penalties a game for 77 yards. Not going to get you anywhere this season. Nowhere. That's going to get you right into the ground, which is where it's gotten you the first 6 weeks of the season. And I will also say this. Look, the defensive line's terrible. I've talked about the defensive line enough. Javon Kinlaw, Michael Clemens should be cut or inactive. Zuerlein should be cut. I wouldn't even let him kick another field goal in this uniform because it's like he's been off since the summer. He missed against the Patriots. He had the miss against Denver. He had the 2 misses last night. How many more field goals does this guy got to miss to say, you know what, maybe we should make a change? What is it going to take? What is it going to take? A game-losing field goal next week in Pittsburgh to fall to 2-5 to then say, you know what, let's make a change because the Jets are always late to everything. Heck, the Davante Adams trade should have been made a week ago. Now you're 2-4. It feels like too late. The damage is already done. But the Breece Hall run too. He's got to score there. You got Taylor Rapp. You cut up field. He's going to have to turn around. He's not going to have enough time. You have a 5-yard window. You cut up field. You're in the end zone. Breece Hall, we want to talk about him. We want to put him in the same category as, a Christian McCaffrey. Heck, Derrick Henry, 700 yards this season. He's been phenomenal. You want to put him in that elite category. Those guys score touchdowns there. Breece Hall didn't. He's got to score that touchdown. Great run, all that stuff. He's got to score that. No excuse. He's got to cut up field and score. Instead, he kind of lost. Like, it looked like he ran out of gas, got tired, and just kind of gave up. That was a big play in the game. That won't get talked about much because it was a 42-yard run. So, just infuriating. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to sit here and buy back in just because of Davante Adams. I'm not. Let's go through the litany. It's like a Christmas list worth of problems for the New York Jets. Coaching still an issue. Penalties, the trenches, the offensive line, the defensive line, the kicker. We don't even have a kicker right now competent of making a chip shot field goal. and we're going to sit here and say everything's fixed. We've got Davante Adams. We're back. I don't believe it. Hope I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. But this team's got so many issues. So many issues. And this is a big week for Ulbrich. Not only because, and you're going to think, oh, yeah, obvious. No, it's not even that, though. You want to preach accountability. You want to talk about holding players accountable. We've all know Ulbrich. Guys respect him. Everybody says he should be a coach in the NFL. We get all that. You want to preach all that? Well, you better go out there and you better make adjustments this week and hold guys accountable then. You better not go out there on Sunday night and have another game where you're getting penalized 8-9 times. Do something about it. You want to say, oh, count all this stuff? Then do something about it. Don't turn into this. Don't turn into Salah now. Be yourself and do something about it. Because it's getting out of hand. It just is. Heck, I mean, just imagine this team. Let's just say this, though. Just imagine this team would to get to the playoffs. You're never going to win a playoff game getting penalized 8-9 times. It's never going to happen. And I said if they get, hypothetically, they're not going to get there, but hypothetically. What a disaster. What a disaster. I have no belief. I have no hope in this team moving forward. I just don't. But I hope I'm wrong. Prove me wrong. Let's see it. Pittsburgh coming up. So we'll have a lot more content coming your way. I'm sure we'll have another episode up this week. We have a Patriots analyst, Steelers analyst coming on. Was looking a week ahead. We have a Steelers analyst coming on. Team reporter coming on this week. So that'll be a lot of fun. Stay tuned for that. We'll be breaking down that game from a Steelers angle, of course, along with a Jets angle. So getting some insight from the opponent side of things for a Sunday night showdown in the Steel City. And we'll get you set up for that. Quick week, quick turnaround. Already Tuesday. Got to get set for a Sunday night, another primetime matchup. So, and I'm sure we'll have maybe another episode out as well. But yeah. Also, Bills traded for Amari Cooper as well. Wanted to mention that. So you kind of offset the trades there. Jets, Bills both trade for a star receiver. The only difference is the Bills are 4-2 and they're playing well. And the Jets are 2-4 and have a lot of problems. That's the difference. So anyway, we'll talk to you guys soon. JETS, Jets. Appreciate you all. And thanks for watching.